All right, there we go. And I should have checked to make sure y'all can hear me okay. Am I coming through fine?
Yeah, this is good.
Yep.
Okay, good stuff, good stuff. Well, I just kicked off the recording. Welcome everybody, or at least for those that are going to be watching this after the fact. I know I spoke with several of the guys that wanted to be a part of the book study and that you all weren't going to be available. So we will definitely record these or record a big portion of these so that you can join in afterwards and follow along and share in the conversation. Um, One of the things that Drew just sent as we're getting started is a handbook that's going to be available in Google Drive. So you'll be able to write directly onto the handbook or print and download your own copy. So Drew, thank you for making that resource available.
Yeah, for sure.
So good stuff. Well, all right, I guess we can go ahead and jump on in. Drew, did you have a particular way that you wanted to? Oh, and there's Jesse right there. Drew, did you have a particular way you wanted to get started? Drew, want me to start with some of the questions and insight that I had?
Yeah. Well, again, I want to welcome everyone to the book study. I think doing a book study is a really smart thing to do. And you guys do this with other books too, don't you?
We do. This is actually a year ago. We started the book study, and we started with what was it? No More Mr. Nice Guy.
Oh, that is
Yes.
an
Yeah.
amazing book. That's a great book.
So yeah, so you're literally our 1 year anniversary of the book club. So this is a great way to celebrate a year of growth.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, I think it's such a smart thing to do because it gives you a common resource to reference. It gives you something to think about, to sink your teeth into, and everybody's doing the same thing. So I think it's a really smart thing to do. And you invariably you grow from reading, and then when you read and then you share together, you grow even more. So I just think it's a really smart thing to do. Um, and I'm honored to be here and to be helping you guys with this. What I'd like to say though is that this book, um, "Parenting for a Peaceful Home," is just that. We're talking about a peaceful home. Now, of course, there are other things about parenting. There's a whole like parenting is such a huge, complex, evolving skill set, right? So
Right.
this is a specific book about one thing. It doesn't mean we can't talk about other things.
Right.
But as far as the book goes, it's pretty specific in what it talks about. Um, so I want to say that. I want to say that's what the book deals with. But I'm also okay talking about some other things. I mean, parenting is a huge passion of mine, and we can veer off topic and a
Sure.
little bit. That's okay. So I wanted to give, and what's in this book is what's worked for me. What's worked
Right.
really well for me, coming from a standpoint of being, impatient, critical, judgmental, a little bit negative, and then reactive. So that's what I address in that book. And then so if anyone shares that, some of those tendencies, I think you're really going to benefit from this book. And so going forward from here, if I could ask a question of what the plan is, I think the plan is for the dads, to read the chapter beforehand and then get on and discuss the chapter and discuss each other's life. Is that correct?
That's right. Yep. So, I know I finished reading through the introduction, which today we were just going to focus on that part to give
Yeah,
everybody time to catch up. Yep. And then, like you said, talk through that.
great.
Ask any questions, and then we have a great opportunity for all of us to share our life experiences as well as some of those hands-on issues that we may be dealing with right now.
Perfect.
In
Perfect.
relation to that
Amazing.
chapter.
Great.
Yep.
So yeah, I can lead us through a discussion on the introduction and beyond. So if
Okay.
that's okay with you, that's what I'll do.
Yeah, and Drew, I was just gonna say too, I love how you set it up in here too, like you just did a moment ago, talking about, this is from your experience, a child of the 80s. And then you talk about, you're raising your kids as a neurotypical middle class, white guy in Canada, all those different things. Because like you said, there's gonna be so many differences. We all have our own challenges or whatnot that we bring to the table. So I like that you started there kind of addressing that.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we're all going to have our own challenges for sure, and it's all welcome here. And I'm not going to be try and be an expert in your life.
Right.
right? I'm more of the mindset that you're the expert in your own life, and I would like to learn about you and possibly help you and support you, and the group can do that too. So I'm really excited for the power of the group and getting to know each other and each other's individual situations. Like who was that? Jesse
Mm-hmm.
just mentioned his key challenge is that he has two kids, two ADHD kids, and transitions, getting out the door, time in the morning, uh, big deal for him. So thanks for sharing that. And that's one of the things I was going to do right now, Jesse, to kick off this conversation was so to ask the question, what would you most hope to get out of this book study for yourself? If we're laying it out on the table
Mm-hmm.
right now, we're going to be honest and we're going to share inside this safe space. What would you most wish to get out of this? How would you love to improve? What would you like to overcome? And what kind of work would you like to do on yourself?
No, that's good. Jesse, are you at a place where you can unmute since you put in the comment? And if not, then Matt, we can kick it over to you. Oh, Jesse, there you go.
How's it going?
Hey, Jesse.
It's great to see you all.
Dude,
Thanks.
I thought you'd be outside clearing a trail.
I just got done with a workout. I'll spare you the details. I love to have decreased conflict, and I'd like the kids to be self-motivated. We've tried so many things getting them up earlier. I got the younger kid his own alarm. I thought like periodic every few minutes, like, okay, now it's time to get dressed. Now it's time to brush your teeth. Now it's time to take your morning medicine. Now it's time to get your shoes on. Now it's time to get your backpack. I literally all those ones. Still not enough because he won't get off the couch or he won't stop snuggling the dog, and the get out the door alarm goes off and he's still walking around in his underwear. And like how to encourage him to be self-motivated is what I would love to get out of this course. I just ordered the book this morning, so I'll be a few days behind in the reading.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for being here and thanks for the share. I love these places where we can just speak our truth and let each other know what's going on. Like, I love how honest you're there. He's in his underwear and it's time to go. Right? That's frustrating.
Oh, yeah.
As a parent, that's really frustrating. And Jesse's first thing that he wanted to accomplish, he said, was to reduce the conflict.
Yeah.
So you could see how that would lead to conflict, right? You could see how this important aspect of like abiding by a schedule, being self-reliant, being self-disciplined, if our kids are having problems with that, you could see how that would lead to a conflict.
Mm-hmm.
And the question that I'll leave Jesse with is start thinking about how you can teach this skill in a way that embodies the qualities of good leadership. And I'm sure you've tried some already,
Right.
but one of the ways we can extricate ourselves from conflict or toxic conflict is taking on the challenge in a new light, in a different way. And what really helps me is looking at parenting from the context of leadership. And that's chapter number 2, I think.
Oh, nice.
So we're going to get there. But thanks for the share, Jesse. Reduce conflict and increase what should we call that? Self-discipline. Mm-hmm. Self-motivation for the kids. That's a good one. I think it's really important. I mean, think about it. As a parent, as we're raising kids, we want to be sure that when they leave our home,
Right.
they can take care of themselves and that they're not going to be overwhelmed and confused by the world, that they're going to be able to get up, be self-reliant, and do what's necessary to be successful. So I can see why Jesse's concerned. It's an important quality.
Yeah, that's good.
So thank you. Matt, would you be up for sharing?
Yeah, of course. I really resonated just with your intro and just, I mean, I think everything that you struggled with that you talk about in the intro is things that I'm struggling with. I think I shared on the first call. I've got a 2.5-year-old and an 8-month-old. I stay at home, so I am with them all day. And it just gets my impatience, especially towards the end of the day. You've got your 2.5-year-old wanting me to help him, basically me to feed him dinner when he's totally capable of eating on his own. And I've got my 8-month-old screaming in the background, and just being able to react to that, I think, in a better way that I've found myself reacting as of recently, with the frustration and just having that patience to do that. I know I need to have the patience, and I started working through chapter 1, and one of the questions at the end, what's your plan for when you forget or lose sight of your reasonings? I don't know how to keep that top of mind in the moment, heat of the moment, and I know what I need to do, but in the heat of the moment and everything going on, how do I keep that top of mind to be able to react to that as a way that I feel like I want to react to that, as opposed to reacting to that and then 2 hours later thinking, yeah, I should have reacted to that better. Making open or making threats of like, yeah, you're not going to get a dessert if you don't eat on your own, and like things that I really be making those threats like that I'm not willing to necessarily stick with, because I'll probably just cave in and give him his dessert anyways if he throws a big enough fit.
Right.
So just things like that, I think is probably my biggest thing that I want to get out of this. And everything you said, I think is a perfect fit for me as far as some of the struggles that you were dealing with, and some of the struggles that I deal with. So
Yeah, thank you. So what I heard you say was you have a 8-month and 2.5-year-old, is that correct?
correct. Yep.
Okay. And with the 2.5-year-old, you're finding some of the same things that I experienced, that impatience,
Yep.
the reactivity.
Yep.
And so you said I need to have more patience. And I'm curious about that. So you're self-aware enough to notice that you've got this reactivity and you've got
Right.
some impatience, and you're thinking, oh, I need to have more. And I think that one of the reasons why, and correct me if I'm wrong, you think that it would be good to have that is so that you can show up a bit more mature in the moment, and not say things that you don't really believe in or that you're not going to back up.
Exactly.
You want to be consistent and mature in your interactions with your kids.
Yep. Exactly.
So let me ask you a question. Why do you think that's important? Why do you think it would be important to show up like that in a way where you can be aware enough of yourself in the moment to not do things that you don't really believe in or that you're not going to follow through on?
I mean, I think it's, how do I want my kids to behave as they get older and they start to be able to control some of their emotions? I need to lead by example, and I want them to see that I am doing a good job with that, and I want them to be able to follow my lead and say, yep, dad did a good job raising me. He when emotions were high and intense, he was able to handle things calmly. That's what I need to do as a kid. As they get old enough to understand that perspective, I want them to be able to see that I was able to do that, and to give them an example of how they should, how I would like to see them handle things like that.
Yeah, I totally agree. That leading by example is a huge teacher. And then and our kids learn from our example. So there you go. So let's just take it a little step further. What happens for a kid who is able to do that, who learns that lesson at home, who, when things get hot, when things get a little bit tense, that he's able or she's able to just find that calm, that poise, and deal with the situation maturely? What's possible for a kid like that as he or she grows up?
I mean, I think it's, I don't know. I think that, I don't know. I don't know that I have an answer to your question there.
It's okay. I can help you a little bit.
Please do.
Let's take it from a different angle.
Okay.
So let's say a kid learns through modeling and whatnot at home that the way we deal with friction, tension, conflict is to get upset and to, threaten, to yell, maybe intimidate, or what happens for that kid if that's the lesson in the way of operating that he or she learns? What do you think happens in his life, in his relationships?
I mean, I think that's how they will handle things. And I think it's their life is more of a life in unhealthy conflict versus healthy conflict. I mean,
Yeah.
I understand that every kid's going to have that and go through that. And, I want them to be able to handle it in an emotionally healthy way. And yeah, does that am I kind of
Yeah.
answering what you're
Yeah.
asking?
Yeah, I think simply put, like, we set our kids up for living a life of drama or not, right? Like, you know how people say there's so much drama in their life. Well, why is that? We kind of attract the drama, and we kind of invite it in and create it. And that's a shock for some people to understand that I'm creating my own drama. Look at this. They don't see it.
Yeah.
So a lot of people waste a lot of time on drama, on arguments, on like judgment and blame, and they're so busy with that other stuff that they don't have time to be to be happy, successful, fulfilled. Life ends up being hard.
Yeah.
Life ends up being hard, full of drama, and my life used to be a bit more like that. And I look back on it and I think, well, I have compassion for myself. I'm like, damn, that was hard. There's a lot of energy that you were spending doing things that you don't really want to do. And I also think, wow, what a waste of time. There's more important things to do. So yeah, I agree. I think that will the model for how we do conflict in our adult years comes from home. So I think the idea is that we give them a leg up in life, in relationships, and succeeding if we allow them to understand what mature dealing with one's emotions looks like. Yeah. Thank you.
You bet.
Thanks. What about you, Curtis?
All right. Yeah, Matt, that was good. Jesse, you too. Thank y'all for sharing. Yeah, I mean, I think you pretty much hit the nail on the head on page 7 when you talked about all the things that you're going to highlight and explain throughout the book. The awareness of myself and my emotions, regulating my heightened emotions. I think Matt, was just kind of talking about that when you're in the heat of it, the stickiness of the moments. Reminding myself to calm back down and ground myself and all those different things so that we can make, or I can make, the most intelligent and rational decisions instead of being reactive. I know you talk about that. Yeah, calming myself, valuing myself, and taking and placing the priority on self-care. I think that's great. The whole idea, and Matt and Jesse both are great examples of these with their routines and their meditation habits and the continued daily workouts. And those are things that I will quickly let fall to the side in the craziness of life and the craziness of the moments. And so kind of doing the exact opposite. I'll value trying to get more of the stuff done and more of the stuff off the to-do list versus slowing down to speed up and focusing more on the self-care. So no, I think these are all great areas. The modeling, the conflict as an opportunity to problem solve, and then, like I said, going back to the self-care, the loving and forgiving myself. I think those are huge. And so those are all different areas that constantly come up for me in my parenting journey between the 3 girls that I have.
So the whole thing, the
I
whole
mean,
thing.
yeah, the whole thing, and I think the biggest piece, because I know my therapist always gets on me. So, what's your priority? What's the one thing you're going to focus on? What's the main the main thing? As Jesse was talking about with the one thing, I think it's I think the self care will really lead. The heightened self care will lead to the better emotional regulation, especially in the interactions with the kids.
Yeah. Yeah, and that can be a real challenge for some people to see themselves as important. Some people are just so good at helping other people.
Right.
I mean, we'll look at you, Curtis. I mean, you got this group, right? You're serving other people. That's how good you are at it. You created a group for it. And then you got 3 daughters who, I think, from what I know about you, you take care of them in a big way and you're very present. You do lots of things for them,
This is true.
right? So yeah, it's funny how something so simple, taking care of oneself, can be so difficult for people that we can be outwardly focused. What's out there that I need to take care of before me?
Right.
Yeah, I feel you on that one.
Yeah, it's interesting because you read the self-help books and you hear everybody quotes the who is it, Zig Ziglar. You get in life, or what is it? You get in life directly to the proportion as much as you give out to others. Stuff like that. The whole, it's better to give than to receive. We hear so many of these quotes and mantras through religion and through self-help and these doctrines that the more you do for others, the more you get the internal rewards. And if you don't get it in this life, you'll get it in the next, and all that kind of stuff. And so I think it makes it real easy for us, or for me, to forget too that it is important, just as important, to place that value on my own self-care, so that I can also model that, as Matt said, so I can model that emotional stability and self-care for the kids, so they know how to handle the craziness of life as they get older.
Yeah, that's right. Isn't that right? Isn't that correct? That's a really good point. The degree to which you're taking care of yourself and demonstrating that is going to be an example for your kids. So we can't just talk about self-care. We can't just say, hey, listen, sweetie, self-care is important.
Right.
Right? It'll be like, yeah, okay. Proof is in the pudding. What is he doing?
Right. Exactly. So, along those same lines, I think something I need to do as well, and this is going back to celebrating a year of the book club with No More Mr. Nice Guy. One of the things I realized about myself is I beat around the bush, as y'all notice. I love being long-winded, but I'm not as direct and as honest as I should be. And so, something else that I need to do a better job with, and I'm working on, is when I'm doing these things. Like right now, I'm spending a lot of time out in the garden. And I have the girls help me with it. It's a whole family process. But when like my daughter asked me the other day, Daddy, why are you so into the plants and doing all the stuff with the garden? And I was like, I enjoy it. I love starting something and seeing it through and finish and stuff, which, great answers. But even taking it that next step and even saying it's a form of self-care for me. It's my opportunity to get outside, all these different benefits that come from being in the sun, having your hands in the dirt, all those different things, and just using some of those other words to add into those
Yeah.
conversations.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. Why are you doing that, Daddy? Well, it makes me feel good. I like it.
Yeah.
I feel connected to the earth. It makes me feel purposeful. I like it. It makes me feel good. It actually calms me.
Yeah.
So bringing them into your world and understanding you in that way, um, you could even use it as a kind of a teaching example.
Right.
You could say, yeah, so that's what I do. Like, what do you do?
Mm.
What do you do? That's like my gardening. What's your version of gardening? Do you have something that you do that, like, how you feel connected to yourself and to the world, and lowers your stress, and that you like, that makes you feel good? Do you have something like that?
Oh, that's good. So it's an opportunity for communication, for conversation. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, and then maybe there is something for your daughters. Maybe they don't have anything, and then there's another opportunity. She says, "Oh, I don't know."
Exactly.
Oh, and then there's an opportunity there. Well, what do you think it could be?
Exactly.
How could I help you? Do you want to try something? Do you want to find something?
That's
Because
good.
that's a great um, emotional regulation strategy, is to have something that's like restorative, it's rejuvenating, it's calming, and it's something that you really like.
That's
And
right.
so, as a dad, if things get hot, or you notice your girls are getting high strung and the tension
Hmm.
is building, you could say, "Oh, let's take a break, Sarai. Hey, when's the last time you did that? Or what do you think about trying this now? Or
Exactly.
remember that thing that you like?" And that could be a great pause, a break for your kid to get rejuvenated and to come back with a fresh mind, and to feel good.
That's right.
Wonderful.
I like that a lot. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys are mentioning a lot of the stuff that's in the book, and it's great. All these things were challenges for me, which is why I wrote about them. And I think that they can be common challenges for other parents as well. I could say, for me, in doing this, book study with you guys, I hope to be learning too and being refreshed by the content. And so for me, what I'll have my focus on is, you know what? I'm going to steal yours too, Curtis. Um, Mine's going to be on the self-care piece, on specifically connecting with myself.
Hmm.
So I'm going to use this opportunity to lead this book study, but also to engage in it. So I'm going to join in some of these activities, and also put my money where my mouth is. And so my goal for these 10 weeks is a greater connection, self-care with myself. That may take the form of meditation, walks, walks in nature. Um, yeah, I'll leave it at that. Yeah, I think it's so healthy to have that, and I experience the same benefits that you do. If I do that, I can come into a situation much more resourced, much more level-headed, uh, like putting my own oxygen mask on first.
You're right. Yeah, that's good. I like that.
Okay, so um, in the handbook, I have asked a question, just one question for the introduction. You know, we can talk about it here, and then you can journal it after. And I do recommend spending time with each question and journaling each question. And there's going to be overlapping themes as we go in the book, but I really do recommend writing these things down because it helps solidify what it is that you want to do, what it is that you want to create. So I really recommend that. So the question here is, this book is about creating a peaceful home, specifically a peaceful home. Why is creating a peaceful home important to you? Now, we've heard some comments today about, well, me having some more self-regulation and patience is going to help my kids into the future. So I totally agree with that. Why else is creating a peaceful home important to you?
Yeah, that's good. You want me to, Matt, you coming on?
Sorry, I'm trying to get signed into this Google Doc. I'm signed out and it's going through all the.
Yeah.
Do I have to do anything for you? Do I have to approve any kind of request?
I just got signed in, but I was trying to find, I got a whole bunch of other documents in there that I'm trying to find it in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go, please, somebody else start. And then
Yeah, no, I can start. And Matt, it will be in the shared with me area, probably, potentially.
Okay.
Yeah, or you can go back and click the link in the Zoom again, and it should just open right up.
That's what I was trying to do, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no. So yeah, Drew, the question was, yeah, why are we looking to create a peaceful home, and how can it be helpful, now more so than just in the future, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think as you said, I know that a lot of the majority of the stress in my life, and even in here in the household, like you said, is self-created. We have built our lives around a busy schedule. The kids are in a bunch of different activities. We were just talking last night about what it's going to look like over the summer and how we're trying to dial it back a little bit to leave in more of those peaceful moments and those opportunities for the kids to kind of dictate the day and have that opportunity to be bored, so they can come and tell us, "Hey, I'm bored." But trying to build in some of that, but the larger point of what you're talking about with a peaceful home, I think the goal here is just those better opportunities for connection and those better opportunities for these better interactions. I mean, I mentioned on other calls where there's times when everybody will be hanging out, the kids will be laughing, playing, doing something. My wife will be in there, and I've noticed there's times when her or I will come in, and the whole environment, the whole mood will shift, the whole mood will change. It kind of goes from the fun loving and enjoyable environment to a little bit more tense.
Like wah wah
So,
wah. Dad's coming in.
Yeah.
Daddy buzzkill. Here he is.
Yeah. No, exactly. So I so that's what I'm looking for there. And like we just finished the book Emotional Intelligence, and so some of that comes into play there, but and a lot of it is just mindset as I'm entering into these situations. But I think the things that we're going to talk about here, and this ability to create peace within myself as well as to help the kids to do that, I think it's going to be fantastic for all of us as a whole.
Yeah, wonderful, amazing. So what I heard you say was you said a lot of like better. I want this to be better.
Right.
And I say why not? Like, why not have a better home? Why not have the best home that you could have? Because we have one family, we have one life that we're living, and why not have it be the best? Why not have it be really connected and fun and rewarding and to feel really good? That's my baseline for whether or not I know that I'm doing something well. Does it feel good?
Mm-hmm.
Does it feel good? If I'm doing work, does this work feel good? if I'm interacting with my wife, my kids, if I think about my family, does that feel good? Am I on track? And so, I mean, for me, I'll share my reason for creating a peaceful home is pretty similar to yours. Like, I want to enjoy myself. I don't want to live a whole life of like tension
Right.
and negativity. It's like, man, I've got one life to live. Let's enjoy it. So if I can't be at peace at home, where can I be at peace?
Exactly.
And I want to show my family what that looks like because, you know, at least if I know and if I work on that piece inside myself, the internal environment, it gets reflected into the external, and I can be a leader in that regard. And I don't mind because that's what I want. I've got a real focus on that, on that enjoying myself as a family man, enjoying myself as a husband and as a father. Like I want to have a good time.
Exactly.
I want for the most part, I know we're going to have some conflict. I know we're going to have some struggle, but for the most part, I want it to be like 80-20. 80% of the time, I actually want to be having a good time.
Exactly.
And it used to be the other way for me.
Yep.
It used to be like I was struggling like 80% of the time. And I thought to myself, I got to flip this around. I've got to change this because this is my life that I'm talking about. So that's my reason. It's based on like, I want to enjoy this. And for me, having that peaceful, relaxed home is enjoyable to me.
Right.
What about for you, Matt? Any other reason?
Yeah, I mean the same thing that you guys said. I think I'll add to it in the sense that, you know, I stay at home, so I feel extra pressure or responsibility added to me, you know, for creating that peaceful home. And I want to be part of it as a way that I feel I can support my wife in that when she comes home from a long day of work, that it's not complete and utter chaos in the house and that things are under control and that she can come home and she can decompress as opposed to her coming home and walking into, you know, a stressful situation that she's been dealing with all day at work.
Yep.
And so everything that you two said, but that would be my kind of 2 additional add-on points to that.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. And I could see why you'd want that, because it would allow for your wife to come home and not to have to manage that chaos. And it would also allow you to feel competent and confident that you can handle this.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that would feel good. That was one of the things that bothered me the most when I was at home. I was the primary caregiver in my kids' early years, you know, when they were 2 and 3 and that kind of thing. And one of the things that got to me was that I'm a smart guy. I'm a smart guy. At least I thought I was. And then I'm capable, but these little kids had my number and it got me frustrated because I was like, most things in life, if I focus on it, I could figure it out. I'm pretty good at that, pretty good at puzzling things out. But for a while, these kids had me confused and turned around and feeling like I didn't understand and I wasn't capable. It required a bigger transformation than I had originally thought. It wasn't just some quick fix that I did to, you know, smooth things over. It required a bigger transformation. And in the end, I have become capable and confident. I do feel good on my skill set. So I want to let you know that coming from a guy who was not like, I was not, you know, hitting the nail on the head in the early days.
Right.
I was not. I was unskilled. And I I wanted to be better, and I was kind of beating myself up because I wanted to be better and I wasn't, blah, blah, blah. You know, it took some time, but I can tell you, and I want you to be hopeful, that I'm really good now. Like, I'm really good with kids. And I'm just as capable and competent as my wife is. And in some arenas, I'm better. So that's actually kind of impressive. I didn't think that would be the case. At one point, I was just like, shit, she's better than me at everything. Screw it.
Exactly.
So, but
Hey
I
man, so sorry. I don't know what was going on.
Hey, Robert.
How's it going, man? How's it going, guys?
hello,
Good,
hello.
Good. You can see and hear us okay?
Robin?
No, I said you can see and hear us okay?
Yeah.
All right, good stuff, good stuff. Robert, Drew, Robert.
What's up,
Pleasure to meet
Robert?
you, man. How's it
You
going?
too. Very good. We're having a good conversation here. Thank you for joining.
Oh, no problem. Sorry so late. Like I couldn't get online, and I'm working at the house, and so many other things going on.
No problem.
Yeah.
It's good that you made it.
Yeah. Robert's actually out there in South Carolina with you where you're at right now, Matt.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Just starting to downpour out here, so I'm moving myself where it's a little drier.
No, good stuff. Robert, we just started with the introduction, and so it's we were just talking about just what we're looking to get out of the book. We were talking about some of our experiences. Drew was learning a little bit about, you know, our family lives and what we're looking to accomplish. You know, the name of the book is Parenting for a Peaceful Home. And so, you know, he was even like right now, he was asking, you know, why is a peaceful home even our goal? You know, what about it are we looking for? Why is that the goal? So
Yeah.
Less stress. Live longer,
Yeah.
no heart attacks.
right, the blood pressure.
Yeah. Well, let me finish off with Matt and just say thanks to Matt for sharing what he did. And I hope that I can encourage you that like growth is totally possible. If I can do it, you can do it for sure.
Great. That's what I'm excited for about this. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Yep. Some men don't actually, I mean, let's address this for a second.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's changing, and I hope it's changing, but there's this like subconscious belief in some men, and it's hidden, right? It's not, some men just think this, they think it, and it's not subconscious, but for some men it is, that women are just better with kids, that my wife is just better with the kids.
Right.
The kids want her, the kids prefer her. And so what happens to a man like that when he thinks about his skill set and his confidence with regard to the kids? Well, it goes down. And it can be like a self-fulfilling prophecy, if you know what I mean.
That's right.
So, oh, I'm not very good at this. I'm not very good at basketball. What's someone how is he gonna perform if he's thinking that? A lot of our success in life comes down to belief about ourselves.
Right.
So I want to flip the script, and I want to let men know that dealing with kids, parenting, leadership within the home, relating to our kids, empathy, emotional intelligence, these are all skill sets that can be learned. This is not something elusive that is not, you know, destined for men to learn. We can totally learn this, and we can do a really kick-ass job at it. And it gets fun. At some point it gets fun when you realize, oh wow, look at this. Look at this. I'm kind of kicking butt right now. So I want to address that, because for me, there was this lingering feeling of like, well, maybe I'm just not quite good enough in this area, and maybe I never will be. And that held me back.
Right.
So I wanted to just name that and call that out before we moved on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
You know, Drew, I like that, and I'll add to it. You know, even what you wrote here in the intro, another part where you were talking about when was the best time to plant a tree, and it said 20 years ago, and then the next best time is now. I love the idea that that it's never too late. You know, the idea that we can always work to repair a relationship. We can always work to make the home or relationship, better. And that the best time to start, like you said, is right now. That's something I try and
Yeah.
remind myself as I look at my 13-year-old with through
Yeah.
the lens of she's got 5 more years here in the house. And it would be real easy to be like, man, I already kind of missed or wasted those 13 years. We're on the downward cycle. Why try? Why bother? But instead, I love how you just said, flip it on its head. No. I got 5 years to really settle in and really focus on, creating the best relationship, so that when she
Yes.
does leave home, she wants to come back.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, look at us. We can be like 30 and 40-year-old men and still be learning new lessons. And we
Correct.
know that's true. So obviously it's true that people can change and relationships can change. So you can totally have a really positive impact with somebody. You could have a positive impact with somebody, a child that's a grown child.
Right.
And you can come to a 20-year-old and say, hey, listen, I didn't do things exactly correctly. Jesse's 47, right?
47.
Yeah, I haven't done things exactly correctly. I'm changing. I'm learning new things. I'd like you to forgive me for some of these things that I've done in the past. Hey, can you and I, can we start off on a new foot? Can we create something different together? I want to create a new relationship with you. And that 20-year-old might be like, holy crap.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Sure. Especially if it's delivered in such an honest and humble way. Like, hey, I'm learning. I didn't know what I didn't know when I didn't know it. So I want to get better because I want to have a good relationship with you. I mean, I don't know many people who would hear that and go, no. So yeah, it's never too late. It's never too late to try. Thank you for that reminder. So let's move to Robert. Robert.
Hey.
Hello.
So we're talking about just learning, or we're talking about like what particularly?
Right. Let me ask
Okay.
you a question. I'll give you
Okay.
a couple questions. I'll give you the first question that I asked these guys. The first one was, we're going to do a book study for 10 weeks on this book. What would you most hope to get out of the book study for yourself?
About parenting.
Yes.
So I'm in kind of a different position or odd position, I guess. I think Chris can testify to this. Not that I do things perfectly, but I'm almost like the opposite. Like I think I'm raising my kids in a way that's gonna help them and teach them. Like I have the mindset of our first 18 years is about teaching, training, giving them experiences to be an adult. So when they leave to be an adult, they're gonna be an adult, and not cater to the overpowering or controlling their life, or letting them, kind of giving them the instructions of how to be an adult, pretty much.
Yeah.
And then my wife is kind of the opposite, like, that whole let's not let them get injured, fail, get hurt, always on top of them, the helicopter mom, pretty much. And so it feels like I can do everything right, or I think I'm doing a lot of things right, and my wife is doing a lot of things wrong. And so for me, what I want to try to get out of it is like, how do we reduce the stress and anxiety I have? And if you want like a perfect example of this is pretty much just what happened a couple of days ago. We have a newborn baby, 16 weeks. 2 days ago, right now she should be kind of like turning on her side and stuff like that, tummy time and all that stuff. But when she goes on her stomach, she gets very angry, upset, cries, complains and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so my wife is there. I'm like, put her on her stomach, she's trying to put on her pillow. I'm like, get rid of the pillow. And I'm there, like in the bed with her, like holding her, trying to like turn her on that. She starts crying. My wife automatically comes in, takes her, and like just like, oh, I don't want her crying. She's crying, this and that. Like, you're not even giving me like the benefit to like try to teach my daughter, things that she should be learning how to do right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I get into my feelings. I just quiet. I'm like, you know what? Because after two other kids, I have 3 boys, but 2 live with me. And one's about to be 19. One just turned 14. So it's just like one of these like things. I'm at a stage and a point in my life. Like, you know what? I'm whatever. Do what you're gonna do, whatever it is. If you don't want me to try to be with my daughter, or because you want to come in and you want to stop her from crying right away, whatever the case is. But she was on call last night, and so I was with my daughter pretty much from like 5 o'clock all the way into this morning, And so during the time I had her, we're playing. I put her on her stomach. She starts crying in the beginning. I'll leave her on her stomach. I'll keep on continuing to talk to her, play with her. And after, about 5 or so minutes, she stops crying. She starts, struggling and wiggling and stuff like that. And it's like, okay, this is what it's supposed to be. Like, this is how it is. In my mind right there, it's like, okay, I know what I'm doing. Like, this just proves to me that, it's okay for her to cry for a couple of minutes. And after a while, they're going to get over it and get through it. And, the things I'm doing as a parent, I know. And so it's like kind of the opposite, but it's like the stress that comes on where I feel that my wife is not giving me the benefit of the doubt or
Right.
looking at me like I don't know what I'm doing.
Right. So,
And so I'm trying to get out of it. Like, okay, be confident and know what you're doing. But then how do I go about, because if I tell my wife, just leave me alone, let me do what I'm going to do with my daughter, that's an argument right there.
Yeah, it's never a good start to a conversation.
Yeah, never.
Yeah, leave me alone and get out of here.
Yeah,
pretty much, but
why doesn't that work? Why doesn't that phrase ever work?
Huh?
No, exactly.
You know what? I don't even phrase it like that. I'm like,
no, I know, man. I'm giving you a hard time, Rob.
Let me try. It's like, can I try? But she's gonna cry, and I'm like, okay, all right, I'm not. This is right there. I know it's not going to a fight. Take her if you want. I'm done. So I'm looking to get out of it, like knowing that I'm confident in how I'm trying to teach my kids to be an adult through these milestones, but doing it with less anxiety and stress.
Right.
Yes.
From a partner that I feel, not that she's not a good mother or anything like that, but when it comes to teaching them how to grow and be an adult, her capability or her mindset is not of the same, as like I want the best for my daughter. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point. I mean, we're all going to have different challenges, right? And this is an example of another challenge bringing into the mix, right? Because we parent, unless we're a single parent, we don't parent by ourselves. We parent with somebody else, and that means that there's potential areas for complications and miscommunications and disagreements. So this is a very real part of parenting, and so I understand why you want to do that, because it's important for communication to be good. It's important for you to have your voice heard and to feel respected. And it's also important for her to feel heard. And then for you guys to have the skills to figure out what you're going to do if and when you disagree. Now, I think it's a bit of a problem for if and when there's a disagreement, that somebody backs down and the other person just gets their way all the time. So I do think that's a bit of an issue. I can see why you're doing what you're doing to avoid the conflict. But truth be told, that's a little bit similar to the what's that book called? The Nice Guy. No More Mr.
Yeah, no,
Nice Guy.
nice guy. Uh-huh.
Kind of behavior. And I'm not sure if you were in on that book club.
Yeah, Rob wasn't on that one, but we've talked about it a
Okay.
little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. So I can see your point of view. Can I ask you a question? Is this your wife's first?
No, no. This is
Okay.
a third.
Okay, so you have this baby, and then she has, are the two boys at home, are they hers?
We have 3 kids.
With
We
her?
have 3 kids together.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is
19
like a late addition.
Right. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Sending
It's
one
all
off to
seen-
college and picking one up from the nursery.
Yeah.
Wow,
Oh,
good,
see,
good for you.
Yeah. Rob, that's
No.
why I have my vasectomy scheduled for the end of the month.
You got me thinking. So you have this lovely surprise, a daughter,
Hmm.
and you want to help her
Yep.
become like a resilient, capable adult. That's your goal.
That's my goal with all my kids.
Yeah. And how did it work out with the other ones?
You want to hear another funny story? So my son's about to be 19 years old,
Yeah.
and he decided to go to the lake with his friends up in North Carolina this weekend coming up. So I'm dropping him off tomorrow to go to this cabin lake house, and I said, you're far away, find a way home. We're not gonna come pick you up. So he's trying to find a way home. He finally says, I'm just gonna take the Greyhound back home. My wife goes into a frenzy about him taking a Greyhound home. Decides to try to figure out how to get her parents to go from Asheville to Charlotte to pick him up to drive him home because she doesn't want him to take a Greyhound bus at 19 years old. And then when she asked, because I took Greyhounds many times going back and forth to North Carolina to New York, and when I moved down, my family's still from New York. I've taken Greyhounds to Connecticut before. I've been many Greyhounds before, and so she was like, "Oh, Greyhounds is not safe." I'm like, "Well, how many times you want to get Greyhound?" Well, my uncle told me he got robbed and this and that. I'm like, "Your drunk uncle who came from a casino that probably wasn't taking care of himself is the one that's telling you that he got robbed." Okay.
Right.
And so she's like, "Yeah, but then I get experience." I'm like, "How many times you experience it?" She's like, "How many times you So she was being passive. I'm like, "I've been in Greyhound many times before." And so she was like asking me my opinion. I'm like, "I don't think it's okay to tell your son no, he cannot take a Greyhound back home at 19 years old if that's what his plan is." And all of a sudden she's just like, "Oh, why are you shaming me?" and this and this and that. And she goes into a frenzy. I'm like, "All right, conversation over. You asked me my opinion. I give you my opinion, and automatically I'm being abrasive. I'm being rude. I'm shaming you." I'm like, "I ain't doing any of that. You asked my opinion. I gave you my opinion. You don't like it." And I'm like, "He's 19 years old."
So what happened?
So on Sunday, his grandmother is gonna pick him up from Charlotte, or she's supposed to go up to Charlotte to have dinner in Charlotte at some restaurant, and then pick him up to drive him home.
Mm-hmm.
19, mother,
Mm-hmm.
no trust in the son.
I could see your point. I mean, at 18, 19, I was on buses going across country. So I think so. I want to validate you, and I want to say, I think it's a reasonable thing that you are suggesting and that you're proposing. I don't think it's unreasonable. It makes sense to me. A 19-year-old is an adult. Going on a bus for a couple hours is certainly within the realm of possibility of reasonable things. It's more than reasonable. It's more than reasonable.
Yeah.
I would tell you otherwise, by the way. I would tell you if I thought you were being unreasonable. So yeah, some of this stuff in the book with the there's some stuff around communication with the kids, empathizing, validating. That's going to help you with your wife. Because there's a certain way to talk with people, especially defensive people. You know, people that like they take everything as like criticism or a judgment. There's a certain way to talk with people like that that can really help the communication. And kids can often be defensive. I didn't do that. I didn't do that. Or like, you know, like immediately defensive. So it works with both. It works with kids and partners. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. Hey, Rob and Drew, do you mind if I ask a couple of follow-up questions with the example here?
100%. Do it.
So, Rob, let me ask you this with Antonio, because you said it's his birthday weekend.
Yeah.
And then he's what, 2 hours away from where y'all are at, from the house?
Well, he's back home now.
Right. So he's at the house now, and then you're gonna drive him 2 hours from Charlotte.
Yeah, it's like 2.5. Yeah.
All right. And then on Sunday, and then so the question was, or whatnot, the concern was, okay, you're gonna take him out there. How is he gonna get back?
Correct.
When he was first talking about wanting to go to the lake, did he already have ideas of how he wanted to get out there? Did he say he wanted y'all to take him, or that he already had plans on how he was gonna get there and come back?
No, we talked about that. When he first brought it up, I'm like, well, how are you gonna get out there? You know, what's your plan? So he looked up a couple of train schedules, he looked up the bus schedule, did all this stuff. And then I'm supposed to pick up my other son today, because I pick him up on Thursdays and I have him for a week. And then I talked to his mother and I was like, can I pick him up on Friday instead and go from Friday to Friday? Because it's on the way to picking up our son, I can just drop him off on Friday.
Right.
You know, yeah, but he had looked up on train schedules and bus schedules. I was like, well, I know I'm going that way already. If I can just go from Thursday to Friday, I'm okay with that. I can just drop you off. So that conversation was had a few weeks ago.
Right. And then piggybacking off what you were saying earlier, kind of part of your stance with this whole thing is it's an opportunity for him to learn, for Antonio to learn how to be self-sufficient, right? For him to kind of learn if he wants to get somewhere to figure out how to make that work.
Sure.
So what I'm wondering, and like you said, knowing Julie and kind of a lot of the history here. So Drew, just to bring you up to speed, me and Rob go all the way back to the first days of medical school. So we go back to what, 05?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Nice.
Yeah, like 17 years. So I remember Antonio, the 19-year-old, when he was, you know, a little 3-year-old or whatnot, running around. Yeah. So my what I'm wondering from the perspective of what we're talking about here is, and especially kind of thinking about it, trying to get into Julie's head a little bit. I'm wondering if she's wondering if it would be a great opportunity, you know, for you all to have that time in the car to be able to talk through some of these things and kind of, especially with where he's at right now in college and some of the things that he's doing and interacting with and learning and all that kind of stuff. I'm wondering if she's thinking it could have been a better opportunity for y'all to spend and have that opportunity for kind of closed interaction and conversation.
You talking about what?
For you to drop him off and to pick him back up on Sunday.
Well, the dropping him off was me and Antonio talked about dropping him off. She wasn't part of that conversation.
You're right.
And then picking him up, she wasn't telling me to pick him up. She was having her parents pick him up from Asheville to Charlotte to pick him up to bring him home.
And then bring him back. Yeah.
It sounds like the motivation for her to do that was she was worried about his safety.
The safety, yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can give you, I can give you a little bit of a sneak peek into the empathy and validation and how that can help create a safe situation for somebody else to hear your perspective. So sometimes people that are worried, they're defensive and they're worried about being judged, is that they'll be very strong in their opinion as a way to not be told that they're wrong, and they'll repeat their opinion and be very forceful with it. So one of the things we can do to help relax those kind of people is, now you don't have to agree. This is not an exercise as, oh, I agree with everything you're saying. It's not that. It's called empathy and validation. And it would sound something like, okay, so I see what you're saying. I see your point. So what you're concerned about is you're concerned about safety, right? So that's different than saying, hey, listen, it's safe. It's fine. It's safe. You're asking my opinion. I'm telling you it's safe.
Right.
I've done it. So this approach that I'm suggesting is a little bit different, but you might want to try it. It might lead to some success. What happens is, when we empathize with people who have their guard up, they got their guard up and they want to make their point and they want to, have control. When we empathize with them and we see their point from their perspective and we voice that and we say something like, hey, yeah, okay, you're thinking it's a little bit dangerous. I can see why you would think that. You're worried about his safety. He's your son, and you want him to be safe. I could appreciate that you want him to be safe. Sometimes what that does is that it has the person drop their guard. When somebody feels heard and, empathized with and validated, oh yeah, that makes sense. I can see why you're saying that. I can see why you would think that. He's your son, you care for him. Yeah, maybe you've heard some story about some dangerous Greyhound experiences, and you just listen instead of trying to make your point. So this is like a leadership move. This means that you're a bit more in control, actually, because you're taking a leadership position of like creating the space for the person who has the worry to express it. Okay, and then you're not agreeing, but you're empathizing and validating. So what can happen is that person can lower their guard and say, "Oh yeah, well, okay, yeah." They can take a sigh of relief, like, And then maybe in that moment, if it feels right, or maybe a bit later, you could say, hey, listen, can I tell you what I think about the situation? And chances are the person's going to be more open to hearing your perspective after they've been heard. I'm not saying it's going to work out perfectly every time. I'm not saying you're going to be able to convince her on everything. But I'm saying the chances of your voice being heard is going to go up if she's been heard.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
it does.
Okay.
And I can tell you that's my biggest struggle, is that she says I never validate her.
Yeah. Well, I mean, maybe you're concerned about not being heard yourself, and you're like, screw it, I'm going to make sure somebody hears me. And then so you make your point clear, you make it assertively, and you repeat yourself because you want to be heard. And so you got two people that want to be heard.
Exactly.
And if there can be someone that has the composure to listen to the other person first, even though it might not seem fair. Yep. Okay, I got to listen to you first. That paves the way for understanding to happen, better communication, and it paves the way for your point actually being heard. That's what I discovered in my relationship, because I was not very good at any kind of validation or any kind of understanding. I was always giving advice, arguing, saying my point. I didn't really know how to listen until like a few years ago, honestly.
Yeah. but I can listen because I'm good at just being quiet and not saying.
That's not listening.
But oh no, I'm listening to what she's saying, and I might agree, I might not agree. The problem I guess she has with me comes down to the fact that after I listen and I don't agree, I'm not validating before I start to talk.
Right.
Right.
And that's such an important point, man.
That's the biggest problem I would say I will have.
Good.
I guess that's why I lack, because for me, I guess I don't know if it's because of the way I grew up or who I am or the character I have. It's okay. I heard what you said. Not that I don't care about it, but let me just get to my point. Let me get to what I gotta say.
Right.
Like having that break and trying to validate and have empathy. I just want to get to it. I don't know if that's the New York in me. Let's just get to the point.
No, that's most people.
Get to, but it's like, okay, I heard what you said. Now let me tell you what I think. And it's like, well, hold on. Like, can you validate what I said first? And it's like, no, I'm not. And now it's my turn to talk, and this is what I think.
Yeah, we can work on this.
Mm-hmm.
This is okay. This is just like I was saying to Matt. If I can learn how to do this, the man who was I was just trying to get, I was listening to respond. I was listening to say my point of view. Okay, so what are you going to say? Okay, now here's what I'm going to say. Just like you. But now I'm a bit better, considerably better at exploring what my wife is saying. So it's like, let's just take a couple of minutes and explore what you're saying. I mean, women love this. Like with men, we can be direct with each other and it's not that big of a deal. Like I'm not all into stereotypes, but I have like, I just see, I see this pattern again and again. If I'm able to validate and explore the feelings and the thoughts of my wife and my children, then like, wow, things go better, they go more smoothly. I'm trusted more. My opinion actually increases. And I get like more trust and more validation for my opinion. So if that's what you want, and I think that's what you do want, stick with this book study because we get into it. We get into the empathy and what it sounds like. And
I like that.
I'd be even willing to post something in the group on this because this is there's a book called Never Split the Difference.
Never Split the Difference. Oh yeah.
And there's for people that like interesting stories, fun stories. The guy was he's an ex hostage negotiator.
Oh wow.
So you can imagine the people that he was dealing with.
Right.
Disagreeable, defensive, like, so he had to figure out a way to disarm those people, like literally and figuratively.
Yeah.
But he had to disarm their mind first. So you know what he used? Tactical empathy.
There you go.
So if this guy can disarm hostage, what do you call them? Takers. Then in this high stakes, high conflict situation, it can definitely be used inside the home.
Yeah.
So
I like that.
If I can give you some homework, Rob, that would be it. Next time she says something, start like this. So what I'm hearing you saying is this, and then just paraphrase back to her what she said to you. And then say, okay, I could see your point. And then just try that. And then watch for her reaction.
I do that sometimes. We've done counseling and stuff like that, how how to talk, communication. Our biggest issue is communication.
Mhm.
I've done that a couple of times. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And I think it gets to the point for me is okay, I'm trying to do this, it's not working, more than not. And it's just like I give up on it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's not the right thing to do. I know that, but at some point in time it becomes draining. Um to the point of like, all right, it's still not working. It's still not going anywhere. So I just give up and like try to just ignore the problem versus tackling the problem.
Yeah. You know what I did with my wife a while back was that our communication was so poor, and that we get in these fights and we try and prove these points and like invalidate each other, that I said to her, okay, so this is what we're going to do. We need to start at like square one. We need to like communication 101. So what this is going to look like is that today I'm going to listen to you. I'm not even going to respond. So you tell me what you're thinking. You tell me your opinion about this or your view on this. And I would separate my reaction. I wouldn't even respond. I'd just say, hey, thank you. I hear what you're saying. You're saying this, this, and this. Thank you for letting me know. Thank you for telling me. And I wouldn't give my opinion on it. And I would say, okay, I'm going to think about that. And then I say, can I let you know how I'm feeling? Like tomorrow, I'm going to think about this. And then tomorrow, I'll let you know how I'm feeling. So we were so bad at communication that we had to like literally separate our conversations by like a day.
Yeah.
Because you know what never worked out? What never worked out was us trying to have like, okay, let me see what you think. I'll see what, and it always escalated. So what I did was I separated it, and I gave us a lot of space to cool down in between. And it cut down on the arguments a lot. And it helped her feel heard. And then when it was my turn to talk, I felt heard because she wasn't responding to me. She wasn't telling me, oh, I think you're right or you're wrong. Here's my opinion of what I think you said. I would remind her sometime, remember, this is my turn to talk. And so what I want you to do is I want you to think about it for a day, and then you can tell me. I know this sounds pretty elementary and pretty simplistic, but
no, it's fine. There's only two problems with that. I know it sounds like I'm trying to make excuse after excuse. I'm not, I promise. Because I'm definitely at fault for a lot of this stuff. So one problem is that she has an oratory problem. She's taking an IQ test with her residency program, and her oratory process is extremely low, like low. So her listening to something, it doesn't register in her mind. It just doesn't. So when we talk, that's one of the biggest problems is I'm saying something, and she, not only that she's defensive and controlling,
Right.
and that's not from me, that's from her counselor. Her counselor says that's what she is. It's also she can't process the things I'm saying. The flip side to that is I hate writing. I'm not a good writer. I'm not. And so for her to see where I'm trying to say, I would literally have to write everything down, and for her to be able to understand what I'm saying. And so that becomes an issue for us through communication. And the other thing is that she has really bad ADHD, and she can't. 3 hours later, she won't remember what I said.
Which is why the writing it down is such a better process for us.
Correct.
So
that's a good strategy
I'm not
too.
trying to make excuses. I
Yeah.
know the things that I should be doing,
Right.
but in the middle of a conversation, I can't say stop. I'm gonna write down my opinion
But
and
you
give
can
it.
though.
You actually can.
But you
That's the whole
can.
thing.
Exactly.
If you realize something's not working, if you realize that you're trying to hit a nail with a hammer, but you're hitting your thumb over and over again, and your thumb's getting bloody, and it's getting bloody, just like this conversation is getting messy, the conversation is getting, you stop and you say, okay, wait a second.
Yeah.
I love you. I don't think this is working right now. So let's take a break and let's figure out how we can have this do this a little bit better. You actually can
Yeah.
Oh
take a
no,
break.
I call timeouts all the time.
You're right.
But two things that happen after a timeout. Either one, I'm done with the conversation. I just don't want to deal with it no more.
Well,
Um,
right.
Or two, I don't. In my mind, it's not even worth trying to get into a big debacle of writing it down because she wants that to be solved right then and then. And if knowing that she has an issue, I'm not gonna turn around and gonna start writing a essay for her to understand where I'm coming from, and then she's already mad because I called a timeout. She's mad that she's not getting the answer she wants. And so that's the problem. Like I can't, for me, I can't just pull away and say, all right, I'm gonna write an essay. I'm at a point where I'm just upset and mad already.
Exactly.
All
So
right.
to me, Rob, it sounds like you want things to be different. You genuinely want things to be different in your relationship. But on the other hand, it seems like you're telling us I can't do anything. So
Not that I can't do anything. The thing that it needs to take, I think for me, is very extreme, and I can't wrap my head around the process is gonna take because I don't understand that. I don't understand the ADHD. I don't understand the oratory process. And the way I learn, the way I train and teach, is a lot of
So
verbal
different.
cue and hands-on experience.
Yeah.
yeah,
And not only that, I hate writing. I hate ELA. I don't have, my spelling's horrible.
Which is okay.
you can
So when you add
dictate.
Yep. You can
So
dictate it. Hey, Rob, let me tell you this real quick.
the
Hey,
problem,
Rob.
the problem with that is my speech.
Nah, you're fine.
I have a speech problem.
Nah.
I went through speech all through elementary, middle, high school. I had to go through speech therapy. And the little lips on the bottom of my tongue is too tight.
Yeah.
So certain words I can't pronounce, certain letters and sounds. So even when dictating, I get really upset because even when I try to dictate certain things, it doesn't pick up the words. Like even when I use navigation and stuff like that, I was so happy to type everything in because I can try 5 times, 10 times.
You want to hear it?
Pick up.
That's what we're trying to tell her. Siri, you need to listen better.
And my wife and my son or someone will turn around and do it one time and it picks it up.
You're right.
So that's the other problem with dictation. I have a lot of issues.
Yeah,
well,
listen, we all do, and what I'm going to encourage you to do is to stick with it. I think you are. That's why you're in the group and why you're working and why you're trying, because you do believe that things can get better. You are optimistic. So I would encourage you to stick with it, stick with trying to get better, stick with the DMD, stick with this book study, and be hopeful because things can change, even when it seems bleak, even when it seems not possible. I've been in some dark situations before. I've been in some situations where I thought my wife and I were not going to make it. More than one situation.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not fun. It's not a fun feeling. It's not a fun feeling to feel like the person that you're with doesn't understand you or doesn't care about you. That's not nice. That's not fun. We want our marriages to feel different than that. And I've been in those dark places where I felt like that and I felt hopeless and I felt like whatever I've tried hasn't worked. Now, so
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
feel you, but I also want to let you know that I am like 20 years into my relationship with my wife, and even though at times things have seemed dark and impossible, we've stuck with it and we figured it out. Even like what seems like at the 11th hour
Mhm.
when it was like, damn, there, I was close to making some kind of decision. It, and I'm glad that I did. I'm glad that I kept that hope alive. So
Stuck with it.
I hope that you do too. And I don't want to, like, you know, belittle your concerns right now. I think you have some real challenges, it sounds like, from what
Mhm.
you're saying. But at the same time, I would encourage you to hang on to that hope and stick with it. And we'd love to help you.
I
Appreciate
like
it.
it. I like it. So fellas, I know we're here at 3:31. I want to respect everybody's time. Rob, Drew sent out a link earlier with the workbook that's going to go alongside of the physical book or the actual book. So I'll make
Okay.
sure you get that. I'll make sure you get that link, and Drew's going to also post it in the book club study area. Drew, for next time. So next week, Thursday, we're going to jump into chapter 1.
Yes, chapter 1. Well, you know what? Yes, chapter 1, but I want to give a warning about chapter 1.
All right.
If you're reading it and you're feeling defensive and you're feeling, because this chapter is called get honest.
Yeah.
So
Get real honest.
it's kind of like in your face. So if you're reading it and you're thinking, holy shit, this is like this is in my face, this is confronting, like this feels kind of heavy. I want you to understand one thing. I am not in the position of judging anybody because I've made all the mistakes. So this is not an exercise in any kind of judgment and making you feel bad. And if you are feeling like you're not interested in it, or it's like it's making you feel bad, and you're having a hard time appreciating that getting honest part, then flip to chapter 10 first.
Oh, okay.
Because maybe you need this first.
Okay.
Maybe this is what you need first. Maybe you're not in the position of wanting to be so honest, and maybe it feels like blame. And if it feels like blame to you, put the book down or turn to chapter 10 and read that, because chapter 10 is all about forgiveness, self-compassion, and understanding yourself. And so if you feel like you need that first, do that. But if you don't, then don't. It's okay.
That's good.
I wanted to give an option to some people that we all come from different places. We all come
Right.
from, and we're all at different stages of this journey. And so for me, when I wrote this book, I was at the stage of, let's be honest. Let's just let's
Yeah.
shoot from the hip. Let's not tell any lies. Let's just be really honest about things. And
Okay.
that can hit some people hard. And if it does, know that I mean it from a place of love.
There you go. That's good. So I like that. So we'll put all that into the notes so folks know as they're coming to it. And with that also, fellas, at the end of the chapters, make sure you go and take some time, as Drew was talking about, journaling either in the handbook or in your own journal, the questions at the end of chapter 1, so that when we get back together next week, we're all prepared to talk through those and discuss those, as well as the hands-on situations like Rob and Matt and Jesse and we all shared today in this first call. So
Just so you
Yeah.
know, when I click on the Google Drive link, it says like I need to request access.
request access.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I did. I don't know who that goes to, but just an
That
FYI.
goes to me,
Okay.
and I can accept that.
Okay. Just
and
so you know
I'll-
that set up if you didn't know that.
Okay.
Thank you.
So no, that's good. We'll work all that out, and we'll get the link posted in the book club. And what I might do as well is go ahead and pull down a PDF just so folks have access to that as well as your own separate copy.
Great.
So good stuff. Well, Drew, thank you for your time today, fellas. Thank y'all for jumping on. Rob, I'll give you a call in a minute because I know we got to talk about a couple of weeks from now and stuff anyway.
Okay.
So
Sounds good.
all All right, fellas. Well, I will see y'all same bat time, same bat channel next week.
All right.
Thanks, guys. See ya.
Bye-bye.